I say a joke always when people they ask me what is your best project, and I say the next one. I don't feel the 30 years. I'm more dreaming about the next 30 years than about the 30 years past. I was born in Tunisia and I moved when I was 2 years old with my parents. So I grew up in France, in Paris, and when I was 17, I was wondering what to do, what to study. So I decided to go through architecture because at that time I was thinking that it was a good combination between art and technique. I was very lucky because the easiest school to learn architecture was Les Beaux-Arts in Saint-Germain. So just like that, I didn't exactly knew where I was going, but I went to the Beaux-Arts and I spent 6 years there in the middle of Saint-Germain, in the heart of Saint-Germain. It was a fantastic experience. And at that time, in the 80s, it was a fantastic melting pot with a lot of people coming from everywhere. Those 6 years were very interesting. Saint-Germain was a good mix because there was, of course, it was the art area, but it was also the fashion area at that time with the Yves Saint Laurent, Rive Gauche store, and with all those stores. It was the café, it was also La Palette or the floor. It was the gallery, there was a lot of galleries in the 80s in Saint-Germain, and that was also the beginning of the design gallery that were coming Rue de Seine, so with all the 30s and 50s furniture. So that was for me a very good time and a very good mix. I learned a job, I learned really something very important. Architecture was really a statement for me because I was not from an architect family. My parents, they were more art lover than really, they didn't know exactly what was architecture. Then I moved to New York 2 years. I find a job in a company that were doing interior design, and this is something that I really didn't knew before. In New York, I found people working in interior design, and that were architects, but also working in plan, working with the techniques, but also working with the curtain, with the art. That was a mix of all those, a combination of all the work. I found this very new. When I came back in France, I opened my office in '91 with this rule, with this statement, at a point in the middle of the architecture, of the art, of the interior design, of the decoration. Not to choose for one road, but to be in the middle of all this. An architect is someone who dreams about a new way to live, about new way to learn, about new way to shop, about new way of everything. This is really a work that is, you dream of the future. This is the architect is a dreamer of the future. This is someone can imagine always a new way of consuming the space, of living the time, or you know, this is really interesting and very complete work. This is the rhythm, and architecture also like Bach with his Goldberg variation. It's always a question of variation. That means that the language of the architecture is the same for everybody. You have a window, a pillar, a column, but with this language you can always reinvent the architecture. So this is why I say it's like the music. It's like in the variation Goldberg. You have the partition is very strict, but the result is always different. You know, you have to train every day if you want to stay on the big level. For the architecture, it's the same. You have to still be very curious. I think it's a mix between to be very curious and to have a classic culture. I'm a teacher now, so this is why I said to my students, there is always the beginner mistake is to try to install all the things that you like in one project, not to decide for one very strong idea. So maybe my mistake was in my first project to wanted to have everything, to be square and round, to be black and white, to be soft and hard. I think today that's a mistake. A project is a concept, is one idea, and then you have to work on this idea. It's better to be black or to be white. What I learned during the years is that it's very important to have a concept, to have an idea, to have a narration, and to give to the people in the interior, this is the case, to give to the people a way, a sensation of the space where they are. This is very important. I discovered this maybe 15 years ago when I was doing a show home with AD, the magazine, and I have done, at that time we designed a fantastic kitchen, and I realized that the people, they were coming in my space and they were doing, they have a feeling, a sensation with the space, like an artist, like James Turrell, when he's doing a reflection room, for example, he wants the people to be in a special mood when they enter in the room. I discovered that what interests me now with the interior design is to give a sensation. It can be for a family, it can be for a client in a restaurant, it can be for even if you do an hospital, it can be for someone who is sick in the middle of an hospital. But you have to give to resolve problem, to resolve things by the interior, and to help the people to think different by a space. I'm very concerned about this, and I'm very working on this with the color, with the light and the volume. How can we change the general feeling, the general mood of the people? This is the Alexandra sofa. We designed it 12 years ago now, and I designed it for a kitchen. The concept behind was to have a big sofa, like something utopic, where you can sit 2 people, you can sit 7 people around, and where you can have a dinner, and where to meet the family, and to also give, I love when I design furniture to think about the attitude, because I think that not everything is about aesthetic, but we have to think also about the attitude. How did we live? And this sofa that I don't have it anymore in my home, but I used to have it. It's a very convenient sofa because everybody can sit and form a kind of family, and then when you are 2, you can sit on a corner. So that was this idea behind the Alexandra. I love to work on the plan. It's to install the kitchen in the best room of the house. I love to play with that because, of course, normally in a family you spend a lot of time in the kitchen and you prepare. And in the restaurant, I love to show the kitchen because it's the same. I think that when you're in the restaurant, it's so fantastic to see the kitchen, to see the product, and to see the people working. It's given a very special atmosphere. My life, it's a mixed. I don't put level. I think for me, family is very important. Of course, love. My work, I'm very passionate about my work and about architecture. My team, it's important because it could be the same as the family. It's a part of my life. And music, of course, I love music, art. I like to understand things and to understand the story behind a piece before collecting. My father was more instinctive, was more going to a piece, even if he didn't really understand what was behind. So we are different. So what I love for me, it's a fantastic hobby to collect because you spend a lot of time to understand the artist, to understand the piece. For example, this photo from Terence Simon, it's a series of photos now, maybe it's 20 years ago. It was the photo, I think it's a great photo, but before the photo, I love the story behind. It's very interesting for me to understand that she has taken pictures of people who are not guilty and that they were condemned. And they went to jail, and then 10 years after something happened and they realized that they were not guilty. And so she, through the United States, she found again those people, and she took a photo of the people in the place where they were supposed to have done. The story behind it's important because life, it's always a matter of perception. And I'm very lucky because I work with a young team. What I'm doing is really a matter of experience. With the experience, you become better. It's true that when you see, for example, photos of a very well-known architect, you always see someone of 70, 80 years old. When you see Frank Lloyd Wright, Le Corbusier. So it's important for me to keep this young eyes and not to be in the past, and I don't want to stop. So I don't really think about the 30 years past. I'm more focused on the future.